He balanced budgets and unleashed opportunity, a vision that changed his people's future forever. Chief Billy Morin's leadership of the Enoch Cree Nation near Edmonton offers a powerful example of how fiscal discipline and community-driven entrepreneurship can transform Indigenous communities. When Morin took office, the nation faced an $8 million deficit and numerous economic challenges. Through determined leadership, he not only erased this deficit but created a surplus, generated 2,000 jobs, and attracted over $1 billion in business investments. This turnaround illustrates the profound impact of accountability, innovation, and a vision rooted in both tradition and modern economic principles. Morin's upbringing on the Enoch Cree Reserve profoundly shaped his values and leadership style. Raised in a stable family with close ties to elders and cultural traditions, he developed a respect for accountability and responsibility that guided his approach. These early lessons aligned closely with conservative ideals of fiscal responsibility, self-reliance, and the importance of strong family and community ties. Unlike some Indigenous leaders who rely heavily on government support, Morin emphasized the necessity of economic growth as the foundation for social well-being. Facing political resistance and criticism, Morin made difficult decisions to cut spending and institute tough financial controls. He introduced the nation's first finance law, which brought structure and transparency to budgeting and spending. By building a council of young, skilled members, he fostered a culture of expertise and fresh ideas. This disciplined approach, though challenging, was essential in reversing the financial decline and setting the stage for long-term prosperity. Morin's philosophy underscores that leadership success depends on patient, persistent work rather than short-term fixes. One of the key pillars of Morin's vision was economic diversification. Historically, many First Nations economies have been overly dependent on gaming revenues. Morin's strategy focused on expanding beyond gaming into commercial development, creating jobs and new revenue streams. The construction of the River Cree Hotel and Casino became a flagship project, attracting businesses and investors by offering tax advantages and streamlined regulatory processes. This low-tax, low-bureaucracy approach fostered a business-friendly environment that encouraged entrepreneurship and growth. Morin is quick to point out that the success of the Enoch Cree Nation is part of a broader pattern among Indigenous communities who have embraced economic innovation and self-determination. He highlights the achievements of Westbank and Squamish nations, where similar models of collaboration and economic freedom have produced impressive results. These communities demonstrate that Indigenous prosperity requires both strong social programs and vibrant economic development. Morin envisions a future where these successful templates are shared widely, lifting Indigenous peoples across Canada. Reflecting on the history of Indigenous entrepreneurship, Morin reminds us that his people were never passive recipients of aid. Before European contact, his ancestors engaged in farming, fur trading, and managing natural resources, activities that showcased a tradition of adaptability and self-reliance. This legacy informs Morin's belief that Indigenous nations should be partners with a federal government based on mutual respect and nation-to-nation agreements that encourage economic empowerment and cultural preservation. Despite these successes, housing remains a critical challenge for many Indigenous communities, especially for youth and families under 40. Many reserves operate under collective housing ownership models, which can lead to inefficiency and overcrowding. Morin advocates for innovative solutions such as on-reserve mortgages, which promote individual ownership, personal responsibility, and community pride. Such initiatives are vital for creating stable, healthy living environments that support long-term growth. Canada's broader housing crisis exacerbates Indigenous housing challenges. Morin highlights how excessive government bureaucracy, slow permitting processes, and costly fees impede home construction across the country. He points to urban reserves like Squamish, where thousands of homes were built rapidly because of minimal red tape and local control. This success story proves that cutting unnecessary regulations can unlock the housing supply and make homes more affordable for all Canadians. Morin is critical of centralized federal housing initiatives, including schemes pushed by figures like Mark Carney, which he argues risk inefficiency and failure. Instead, he advocates for policies that empower local communities, builders, and Indigenous entrepreneurs to take the lead. By unleashing free market forces and reducing government interference, Canada can restore housing affordability and stimulate economic growth in Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities alike. In addition to housing, immigration and labor market concerns weigh heavily on Morin's agenda. Many Canadians feel the current immigration system is out of sync with the country's needs. Temporary foreign workers fill jobs that young Canadians could occupy, suppressing wages and straining infrastructure. Morin supports lowering immigration levels, tightening foreign worker and international student programs, and aligning population growth with housing and service capacity. His pragmatic stance echoes the concerns of many constituents worried about social cohesion and economic opportunity. Morin stresses the importance of integration and shared Canadian identity, balanced with respect for Indigenous nationhood and treaties. Freedom of speech, enterprise, and religion are core Canadian values that must apply equally to Indigenous peoples and newcomers alike. Treaties, he explains, are not sources of division but frameworks for cooperation, partnership, and mutual respect. Indigenous nations that embrace self-governance and economic innovation provide valuable models for the future of Canada. Balancing the complex demands of political life with family responsibilities, Morin brings a grounded, community-focused perspective to his role as a member of Parliament and conservative Indigenous leader. His leadership story is one of resilience, vision, and practical solutions, one that challenges stereotypes and offers a hopeful path forward for Indigenous peoples and all Canadians seeking economic opportunity and freedom. In a moment when issues like housing affordability, immigration, and Indigenous reconciliation dominate Canadian politics, Morin's example shines as proof that fiscal responsibility, local empowerment, and cutting bureaucratic red tape are the keys to unlocking real progress. His vision of entrepreneurship-driven growth combined with cultural respect and political accountability is reshaping the future not just for the Enoch Cree Nation, but for the entire country.